Let me know when Jenny's there.
Pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection. Now, during the Jim Robinson Ford Lincoln Toyota Pre-Owned Super Sale, select from over 80 vehicles in stock starting under $5,000. Most are local trades, many with one owner. Hurry to Jim Robinson at the Highlands, home of lifetime powertrain protection.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Wednesday. Mostly sunny skies, a daytime high near 63. Mainly clear through the overnight with a low near 37. Mostly sunny skies once again for your Thursday with highs near 67 degrees. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Hello, friend.
Hello, friends.
Loving this friend group. How's everyone doing?
Doing great.
What exciting new beginnings can we look forward to?
Well, we have a really big show.
What can we expect?
Imagine a cooking show with puppets, and you'll have the wrong idea.
Surely you're not saying it's unexplainable.
Exactamundo.
Exactamundo.
Oh, well, this should be fun.
This should be fun.
Let's do this.
Showtime!
Conversations you care about with people you know. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, brought to you in part by Wheeling Hospital.
Temp moving up a bit, 39 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Clear and sunny skies, 39 degrees here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and we're also looking at nice sunny skies outside. 39 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling. In the heart of the Ohio Valley, we had had a frost advisory in effect until 9 o'clock this morning, but Zach Petty over the Big 7 tells us the frost advisory has been lifted, so that's a good thing. Temperatures up to around 60-ish today. Going to be primarily nice and sunny during the day. Probably our best day to get out and do some things and enjoy the nice day. Again, a little bit, I mean, not cool, but only 60, so, you know, and going to be warm, going to be cool this morning, so just kind of plan your day all the way around on that. I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, economic issues, if I want to phrase it that way. We have more Republican governors who have now cut off the extended unemployment benefits, believing that people are too lazy to work. That's the concept behind this belief that the reason people aren't going back to work is because they're too lazy to work. I would suggest it might be because they discovered that they can't get by on the wages some people are paying. I want to talk more about that coming up a little bit later on. I also have some new numbers out that I want to share with you about worker pay versus employer pay. While American workers saw a pay decrease over the past year, not to mention some people lost their jobs completely because of COVID, CEO compensation went up 15%. And this is part of the problem we have in our society, I think, is this inequality. You've heard me talk about it all the time. I don't mind people getting paid a lot. I don't mind people being wealthy. I'd like to be rich myself someday. Time is running short for me, but I'd like to be rich, but it's the inequality that just drives me crazy, And I think one of the things that has contributed to the increase in inequality in recent years has been the decline of the appreciation for unions. And in an effort to try and turn that around, pending in Congress is a thing called the PRO Act, and Protecting the Rights to Organize Act, which we've talked about it before with Josh Schwartz from the AFL-CIO and some others. I have with me this morning Jenny Craig, who is speaking, I guess, today. I'm part of a group called Our Revolution. Good morning, Jenny, by the way.
Good morning, Howard. It's great to be on. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Well, we had you on primarily as in your role with the WVEA, as the OCEA, and things have quieted. Well, they really haven't quieted down. They haven't gotten real public in the past year. It was kind of a bad year for teachers, to be honest with you, at the legislature.
It certainly was. Yes, yes, indeed.
We'll get into that one of these days. What is Our Revolution? That's a different organization you're doing some work with too, right?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be an organizer in West Virginia with Our Revolution. It was kind of just a natural shift for me. So I met some of the organizers with Our Revolution back in 2018 when Donald Trump came to Wheeling for a fundraiser. And so they came down with a group of auto workers from Lordstown, Ohio, who had lost their jobs due to outsourcing of the GM plant of several cars to Mexico. And so they came down to call on Donald Trump to keep his promise of good-paying American union jobs. And many of them had voted for Donald Trump. And so they were there to hold him accountable. I was able to meet with them and talk with them and learn about their struggle. And so just kind of kept in contact over the years. And when this opportunity came up, it just seemed natural. All of the things that Our Revolution is campaigning for and organizing for are things that I believe very strongly in. So fully funded public schools. Some of the things that we're focusing on this summer, of course, like you just spoke about, is the PRO Act, For the People Act, which will expand voting rights, Biden's American Jobs Plan, and none of that really will be possible if we don't end the filibuster, because all of these great and progressive legislation might not make it past the Senate if we don't end the filibuster. So those are really the key focuses this summer, talking to West Virginians, educating them, talking about what some of this legislation is, and taking the partisan politics out of it so people understand how this legislation affects them and their families and their paychecks ultimately.
Jenny, and I wasn't going to go down this road, but let's go down it for a minute or two. I'm 1,000% with everything you said, except taking the politics out of it. I wish we could, but I don't think we live in an era where you can take the politics out of it. When you have on Capitol Hill people like Mitch McConnell who say not that their goal is to serve the American public, but rather their goal is to make sure that no Biden initiative gets passed. How do you work with them? I mean, how do you come up with any kind of I hate to use the word compromise, but how do you negotiate with someone who doesn't even see the problem the same way you do?
Well, and I think that's a very fair question. One of the things that we really want to focus on is messaging. West Virginians are far smarter than most people give us credit for. They reduce things to such a partisan issue. It's black and white, it's Republican, it's Democrat. And really what we want to do is make this an issue-based campaign. So yes, the politics are there, and, yes, we need to fix a lot of things, especially in our Senate. A lot of that comes with the filibuster, but really making these things issue-based and talking to people in West Virginia where they're at so they understand the importance of this legislation, whether they're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent.
Jenny, can I ask you a personal question? How did you become so involved in unions and organizing? You've been a very effective and active voice for teachers for a number of years now. Parental background in that, or I'm curious how you got into this.
Prior to 2018, I've always been political. I grew up, so I teach, in middle school that I went to, and I grew up very similarly to my students. And I saw that nothing has really changed since my childhood. People are still struggling, and actually more so now. So all of those things really led to, I guess, who I am as a person, wanting better for our children's future than what we had. And so really the turning point for me was 2016 and leading up into 2018, and recognizing that there's real collective people power in talking to each other and organizing and pushing back, particularly in West Virginia, against some of this very dangerous legislation surrounding public education. And so I guess, in 2018, when we did go on strike, that really just set things in motion for me and made me really recognize the true power of organizing and of organizing around issues to make a real positive and lasting change. We are never going to beat legislation like this. We are never going to get the right people elected with money. It's just not going to happen. There's way too much money in politics, particularly on the right. And so this is a way to see real lasting change.
It's interesting. West Virginia, once upon a time, bastion of unionism in this country. Formed and forged out of union strength. And the power of unions has, quite frankly, diminished a lot in recent years. It really was the teachers that kind of, I think, re-energized an understanding in this state of what can be done when you organize and when you really focus on issues, and when you're not just organized but informed. The teacher strike of 2000, the first one was 18, 16?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 18.
Yeah, 18. That really caught the attention of an awful lot of people in this state, and a reminder of what organizing can do.
Yes, absolutely. And really along with that, you said a great word is informing. So that was the biggest part of our success in 2018, and truly, too, in 2019, when we organized against the privatization movement in charter schools. The public in West Virginia, we had never had charter schools. We took early polling, and a vast majority of those that we spoke to didn't know what a charter school was. And by the end, of course, before the special session, we held forums all across the state, and over 80% of the people we talked to did not want them in our state, because we organized around those issues, we educated, we put a lot of messaging out there so that West Virginians really understood what that meant for them in their public schools. And so, there's real power in that. And so that's, I guess, why I'm so excited to work for our revolution. I see this as just an extension of that, the power of organizing, the power of informing, and the power of other people rising up and supporting this progressive legislation that's going to make things better for American workers.
I noticed during the teacher strike, as I would drive around and look at the picket lines, because I know people up here in the Panhandle, it was not a Democrat issue. It really was a teacher's issue. And I would see people I knew to be Democrats and Republicans both standing on that picket line supporting the same cause, which I think is somewhat an important part about trying to re-energize the movement. Is it can't just be a one-party movement. It needs to be a people movement.
That's 100%. The focus and the mission is to make this an issue-centered campaign, and to take that. That's what I mean about take the politics out of it. You're never going to beat that in Washington, or even in the state legislature. But if we come together and if we take these harmful labels off and we stop fighting and listen and focus on issues, we can do so much good for the American public and for workers, American workers.
Well, I agree. We got to get those labels off. I mean, you radical socialists have got to stop talking about this kind of stuff.
That's so funny, because that's those are the attack words that get thrown out at me and at other people that do push for more progressive ideas, instead of actually having a good and healthy debate, a quality debate on issues. What the PRO Act is, or what privatization does for schools. We throw out those words, and it's frustrating, but unfortunately, that's the culture of where we are as a country.
Well, let's talk about what the PRO Act is. There's a rally tonight at Heritage Port by the Walter Reuther statue, if I remember correctly, in support of the PRO Act. Briefly, and again, Josh Schwartz was with us a couple weeks ago, so we've had an overview, but let's remind our listeners, what is the PRO Act?
Yeah, so today for 5 to 6, just like you mentioned, we are going to have a Pass the PRO Act rally in front of the Walter Reuther statue. What better place than here in Wheeling in front of Walter Reuther statue. Walter Reuther, of course, an iconic American labor leader who was also a civil rights activist, born here in Wheeling, and organized the UAW into one of the most progressive labor unions in American history during his time. And so with the PRO Act, why we are having this rally is the PRO Act really is the focus of the AFL-CIO's Workers First agenda, and it is the most pro-union and pro-labor legislation, certainly in my lifetime. And what it seeks to do is give workers more power to negotiate within their workplace, to make it easier to organize, to strengthen the power of strikes so that employers cannot fire and permanently replace workers when they do go on strike for things like a fair contract, for competitive wages, competitive pay, affordable health insurance. And so it also puts real restrictions on employers when they break those laws. That's something that we're certainly missing right now in legislation. These companies, anti-union companies, come in, they force workers to sit through anti-union meetings, they control the narrative for union elections. We saw that with the Amazon plant just recently. And so the PRO Act would really restore workers' freedom to, one, form a union, to have more control over the timing of their own union elections, and penalize employers when they do break these laws.
The decrease in power of unions has come, I think, well, maybe equal, I should say not so much, but equally from, I guess, a lack of power of unions, period, a lack of interest, quite frankly, in some union members who maybe don't understand what the union has done for them in the past, different unions. Mm-hmm. But it's also come, I think, from simply businesses having more ability to control the union vote, to get their case out before the union has a chance to make their case, and in some cases to manipulate things so that the union potential union members are really misinformed. I mean, a lot of the responsibility, a lot of the problem falls on the employer, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, and we've seen that in most recent history. Like I said, most recently with Amazon trying to organize in various areas. So they they make workers sit through anti-union meetings. They they have that captive audience. You're there, you're at work, and they have propaganda, anti-union propaganda. There are places, I don't know if it's the Amazon plan or where, that they change the stoplights out front of their facility so that people who were organizing and having, sort of a picket line, informational picket, those cars weren't there long enough to organize, to hand them pamphlets, to really spread information and messaging. And so, this legislation comes at a time that it is absolutely the most critical. Like you said, unions have been attacked in the past several decades. We have seen state to state anti-union legislation, such as right to work that we have here in West Virginia, repeal of the prevailing wage, has happened in West Virginia, and most recently in West Virginia, the Paycheck Protection Act that makes it illegal. You're not able to deduct your union dues from your own paycheck. Taking workers' freedom to determine what they want to do with their paycheck away from them. And that is all done just to bust unions. And so that's been very successful across the country. You saw that in Wisconsin, and the Republican legislature in West Virginia has been trying to do that for years here. And so this comes at a time not just unions are under attack and union membership has decreased over the last decade, but also low-wage jobs, stagnant wages, rising healthcare costs, coupled with the economic effects of the pandemic, American workers are suffering. And if we want to see any sort of invigoration of our economy, and we want American workers to be able to afford the American dream and to live and to thrive and to take care of their families, then we need real progressive, ground-up legislation that protects the workers' rights to unionize. That's where it starts. Fair wages, affordable health insurance starts with your contract. And you can't fairly bargain a contract if you don't have an organized and recognized union.
And you can't have a union if the union's hands are tied behind its back.
Absolutely.
Jenny, tonight, what time? 5 o'clock you said tonight is the Pass the Pro rally?
Yeah, so we're going to be there from 5 to 6. There'll be some speakers, people speaking about the PRO Act and why it's so important. And then there'll be just lots of union members, fellow activists, people who also believe in passing this legislation. And so our goal is it's twofold. It's one, to educate people on what the PRO Act is, to be visible, to put it out there to West Virginians who might not understand and know why this is so important, but to also to pressure our legislators to vote the right way, to vote for the PRO Act. Manchin, of course, has indicated that he is going to support the PRO Act and actually is going to co-sponsor it. So that's a great first step. We need Shelley Moore Capito to also commit to West Virginia workers the same. And in doing that, too, we also need to pressure our legislators to vote to end the filibuster, because all of these things that we want to see, that we know will make it easier to organize a union, make things better for American workers, the PRO Act, Biden's American Jobs Plan, the For the People Act that expands voting rights, none of that will be possible if these bills get held up in the Senate because of the filibuster. And so just as critically important as passing the PRO Act, we need to pressure Senator Manchin and Senator Moore Capito to end the filibuster so that this legislation has a chance to make it out of the Senate.
That is a pretty high mountain to climb, though, unfortunately. Senator Manchin seems absolutely dead set again. I mean, there's a lot of what Senator Manchin's been doing lately I'm very supportive of, but he seems dead set against changing the filibuster, and if you can't get him on board, I don't think it's going to happen. So that is a mighty big mountain that has to be climbed first. But we'll see. We'll see. President Biden has a chance to be a truly transformational president. Based on some of the policies and proposals he's already made and other things he's talking about, this could be a transformational presidency for our country, but only if these things can get passed. And I try to be a positive person, but I'm not so positive that these things are going to see the light of day. We shall see. We'll see. Jenny, I appreciate your time this morning, and we should be in touch more often. I always enjoy talking to you. You're an extremely articulate and effective spokesperson, so good to have you here with us this morning. Good luck with the Pass the Pro rally tonight.
Thank you so much, Howard. It's wonderful to after such a busy school year to be able to talk again. So I really appreciate your time this morning.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Jenny
Thanks.
Craig, who has been with the OCEA as their president for a number of years, the WVEA. She does some work on the national education at the national level for the Education Association, and who is a teacher, of course, and is doing some organizing work for this group called Our Revolution. They're putting on this Pass the Pro Act rally tonight, 5 to 7 o'clock at Heritage Port in front of the Walter Reuther statue, which is sort of towards the West Banco building side of things. Please attend. Listen to what they have to say. If you don't agree, politely go and listen and ask some questions. But it's an important issue. It's an important issue. West Virginia, the once upon a time founding place almost of unionism. We're seeing a lot of it in the decline anymore. All right, it's 8:33, 27 till the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Big story yesterday, big story over the last couple of years has been the deaths at the VA hospital in Clarksburg. And yesterday's big story was the sentencing of Rita Mays, who has pled guilty to some of those deaths. We're going to talk to Hoppy Kercheval about that, and also about some of the unanswered questions that are there. And that's coming up next. Here on the Watchdog Morning Show, where we are looking at 39 degrees and sunny, looking for a high of 60 today. It's 8:33, 27 till the hour.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's
You can get Hoppy for me when we come back. Hello.
Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Give me a call for an all-cash offer at 614-362-2000, 614-362-2000.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
Introducing our new redesigned 7 News app. Our new app features a sleek, modern design, an easy-to-navigate home screen with quick access to local news content, and a localized weather forecast. Subscribing to notifications is easier, and with one tap, you have access to recent push notifications. There are more ways to watch and find video. To get the new WTRF 7 News app, just update the latest version or download the WTRF 7 News app in your Apple or Google Play Store by searching WTRF.
The Ohio Valley would like to welcome Airgas USA to the tri-state area, your one-stop shop for all your welding and safety needs. Airgas is the United States' largest distributor of industrial, medical, and specialty gases and related equipment, products, and services. Airgas carries more than 36,000 safety and welding products. Check out airgas.com with free ship to store on over 200,000 items. Or stop in to see us at 2208 Warwood Avenue. Mention this ad for an additional 20% off your first purchase. Some exclusions apply.
Procter. The Watchdog is protecting your yard. Join Howard Monroe, Hoppy Kercheval, Bill DeFabio, and Big Rick for the best live and local talk in the Upper Ohio Valley and beyond. Procter trusts the Watchdog. Every weeknight at 6 p.m., join the voice of the Mountaineers, Tony Caridi, on the Watchdog. Tony informs and entertains WVU fans with the latest Mountaineer sports news. If it happens in the world of gold and blue, Tony knows about it and shares it with you. Sportsline, weeknights at 6 on the Watchdog.
He rambles, he rants, and sometimes he sings. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
It's 39 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, clear and sunny. 39 degrees, clear and sunny here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 39 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. 18 till the hour on the Watchdog Morning Show. Tomorrow on the show, Biffy, we're talking to one of my favorite West Virginia guests. You remember Dreama Denver? She's Mrs. Gilligan, the wife of the late Bob Denver, who played Gilligan of Gilligan's Island. Also, for those of us old enough, he also played played Maynard G. Krebs on the old Dobie Gillis show. And his classic line was, "Work?" They would say, "Dobie, Maynard, have some work for you to work." He would, anyway. But we're going to talk tomorrow to Dreama Denver, his wife, with her new book, Gilligan's Dreams, The Other Side of the Island, and also some talk about a new Bob Denver museum. You know, she also has a little radio station in West Virginia called Little Buddy Radio. I love talking to Dreama Denver. She's a ton of fun, and she'll be with us tomorrow here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Just one of the various things that I like to bring to you, a little bit off the beaten path. Is Hoppy with me?
Not yet. I can't seem to get a hold of him.
Oh, okay. Well, we were hoping to talk to Hoppy Kirchwell here in a couple of minutes, but if not, we'll move on to do some other things. Actually, let me pull up the notes I was starting with. If I can find, some things I was talking about in the last segment before I got into a conversation with Jenny Craig. Republican governors across the state, now 5 of them, I believe, have cut off the federal government's extended unemployment benefits, the $300 extra per week extended benefits that the federal government passed, because they say that the money is incentivizing people to stay home instead of taking a job. Now, here's the reality. Several studies have been done that do not show that to be the case. We talked yesterday to John Deskins from WVU's Bureau of Business and Economic Research. John said, is it a factor? Yes. Is it a prime factor? Probably not. These extended unemployment benefits. Arkansas's governor, who added his name to the list of those cutting off unemployment benefits yesterday, said, we have jobs aplenty, the economy has come back. But I think what these people, I said this yesterday, I think what some folks are missing is that the public, low-paying, those who worked in lower-paying jobs are beginning to realize now how low-paying jobs they were. And yes, in a sense, it's the government subsidizing their not working, but it also is the government making sure that they have at least enough money to live on. Now, I'm not saying everybody needed that extra $300, but I am saying that an awful lot of restaurant employees, retail employees, the extra money makes a big difference. And I don't fault anybody. I don't fault anybody for not going back to work at a, less than minimum wage job and hoping to get enough tips when there is the extra income coming in. And I just don't, again, I said yesterday, I think we look at this perpetually from the employer side of things, and we need to turn around and look at it from the working person side of things. So 5 states now declining the federal government's extra $300 weekly employment bonus. See, those are Arkansas, Mississippi, Montana, South Carolina, and now Alabama. All have done that. And to me, it's just, once again, it's an example of not understanding what it's like to live at the lower end of the economic scale. That's what it boils down to. It's just not understanding what it's like to live at the lower end of the economic scale. And what's really depressing is, I often talk about the inequality of all of this stuff. American workers, overall, no, not everybody, but American workers on average, saw a 2% pay decrease last year. Of course, a lot of folks lost their jobs outright because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But American workers, taken as a general average, lost 2% in pay last year. CEO compensation went up 15%. Workers down 2%, CEO compensation up 15%. This is a study that looked at the 100 biggest companies with the lowest pay for their rank and file companies. And then how do their CEOs do? Dramatically better. Now, please understand, I always put some caveats in here. CEOs deserve more than the guy on the floor. I don't quarrel with that. There's a special set of skills that comes with being an executive that's not the same as someone who works at a lower level. Of course they get paid more. But to see workers' pay go down 2% and CEO pay go up 15%, there's something wrong. I talk often about not people being wealthy, not getting rich, not making lots of money, but the inequality between the highest and lowest levels. And anymore, it's the inequality between the highest level and almost everybody else. So it's that comparison that bothers me. It's not that CEOs made 15% more over the last 2 years. That's not what bothers me. It's that they made 15% more while their workers made 2% less. So there's some numbers I thought I would share with you this morning. The numbers I'm giving you here come from the Institute for Policy Studies. The average pay of a CEO was 680 times that of their employees. Now, I don't know what the multiplier number is. I don't know what quite the number is that they should reflect. But it can't be 689. Is the CEO worth 10 times? 15 times? 22 times? I don't know what that number is. A CEO is worth percentage more than the average worker, but it can't be 689. It can't be 689. Off the text line, just another way to put people into slavery. Well, it's a tough word, but I guess maybe that's the case. Anyways, I want to get those numbers out to you this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Today is going to be an interesting day on Capitol Hill. Liz Cheney, and I think I'm right about this, she has to chair the Republican caucus meeting in which she will probably be removed from the leadership caucus. I think I'm right that she will be chairing the meeting. Liz Cheney has repeatedly said Donald Trump told the big lie, perpetuates the big lie. Donald Trump is trying to destroy democracy by killing America's faith in their electoral system when there is no evidence that there was any significant voter fraud during the last election. Donald Trump is doing it all for his own ego and his own personal aggrandizement. And Liz Cheney's been making that point. And she was among the 10 Republicans who voted to convict Trump in his impeachment, his second impeachment. And of course, now the Republican Party is going to hold her accountable. And they are probably today going to remove her from her leadership position. But she is not backing down. I tell you, last night, Liz Cheney tore into the former president and those elected Republicans who still stay loyal to him. She went to the floor of the House and said, every one of us has sworn an oath to prevent the unraveling of our democracy. This, she said, is not about policy. It's not about partisanship. It is about our duty as Americans. Remaining silent and ignoring the lie emboldens the liars. Now, anti-Trump members of Congress or the Senate, but Congress in particular, always face the wrath of Donald Trump, and certainly she has already. And a lot of folks who've spoken up against Donald Trump over the last 4 years have ended up being silent because of the attacks on them. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think Liz Cheney's going to be silent. And she has a bigger platform than many of these other members of Congress who have spoken out against Trump does. And I think she'll continue to use it. And I think this will become a rallying point for those members of the Republican Party who truly want to see their party get back to its roots. Look, I'm not a member of the Republican Party, and I don't support the general principles of the Republican Party. But I want a party that believes in its roots and not in a person, that believes in its principles and policies, not in a personality. And right now, there is no Republican Party, not in terms of leadership. Right now, there is only the cult of Trump. But I think Liz Cheney will continue to be a strong voice. Nope, she will not be in leadership. Unless something really surprising happens today. Now, she survived a challenge before, earlier in the year, and Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, was on her side at that point. He is not on her side anymore. In fact, he's supporting Elise Stefanik, who is the alternative choice for the leadership position. So I don't see that Cheney survives this vote, but I think she'll continue to be a very loud and vocal voice. And the question will be, and I hope that the answer is yes, or lots. The question will be, how many Republicans will begin to wake up and listen to what she has to say? That it's time to disavow the lies of Donald Trump. It is time to disavow the attempt to destroy democracy. It is time to disavow those who plotted literally an insurrection against our government. It is time to disavow that. It is time for the Republican Party. There's a lot of talk about moving on, moving on. You're going to hear a lot of that today during the Cheney vote. We need to move on. Stop talking about Trump and move on. The party needs to move on, no question about it. But they need to disavow Trump to begin with. Now, that's a long way off because he still pulls powerful strings. But I think Liz Cheney's going to be a rallying point. We'll see. Or she may go down in flames. She's got an election coming up. Maybe she won't make it back into Congress. I don't know. But I think she's going to be a rallying point. And I think after a short period of time, when some of the anger blows away, traitor, 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 the kinds of stuff we saw against Mitt Romney a couple weeks ago in Utah, I think when some of that fervor fades and clearer air comes out, Liz Cheney's message may, just may, get through. That's my thought on that. It probably doesn't surprise you. It's 5 before the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Coming up this morning after 9 o'clock, it is the legislative watchdogs. They'll have plenty of things to talk about, I am sure. And then coming up today at 10:06 to be precise, after the 10 o'clock newscast, it is my good friend, Mr. Kercheval. Hoppy will be talking about a variety of different things today, including conversation with Senator Manchin. I'm looking for my Hoppy notes here. I can't find my Hoppy notes here. I may have to just have you take my word for it. I know he's got, here we go. I know he's got Senator Manchin on. Oh, that's right. He starts things off with the Inspector General for the Department of Veterans Affairs, which I had hoped he was going to talk to us about this morning, but no Hoppy today. The Inspector General from the Office of the Department of Veterans Affairs says there are a lot of unanswered questions about how Rita Mays, the woman who admits to killing many of the veterans of the Clarksburg Hospital, how was it allowed to happen? The Inspector General wants to know, why was she even hired, given some background issues that she had? Why was she never discovered until there were multiple deaths? And there are some who believe that there are more deaths that she's involved with than the ones that she actually has pled guilty to. And what was her motivation? There has been no explanation. Rita Mays pled guilty. She was sentenced yesterday to multiple life terms. And we still don't know what was in her head that made her kill all these folks. So there are a lot of unanswered questions today. Hoppy will delve into some of that coming up today at 10:06 on Statewide Talk Line. Senator Manchin will offer his thoughts on that subject as well. Plus, Senator Manchin with Hoppy today will talk about a meeting that Manchin had with President Biden this week. So that's coming up this morning on Statewide Talk Line. However, I guess at this point in the game, I got to say sayonara, see you, bye-bye, farewell. I got to go. I got to get out of here. The Watchdogs have the calm coming up next. As for me, good Lord willing, creeks don't rise. Bat phone doesn't ring. Don't get impeached. Don't retire. Don't overeat. Ticker keeps on ticking. And most importantly, Teddy says, it's all right. You can go back to work tomorrow, Granddad. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Another go around to the big gig. Are you back with me, Brother Biff?
I will be here for a Thursday.
we'll keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
ABC News.
Well, that was a tap dance there at the end. Right. All right, well, we made it through. It would have been nice to have had the Inspector General is having some kind of a press conference at 8:30. That's why I invited Brad to come on, and he said he couldn't do it because he was this Inspector General's press conference. So maybe Hoppy decided to go to it as well. But he did tell me this morning 8:40 was okay. But life goes on. We got it done. It just my voice was starting to run out there at the end. I don't know if you could tell that or not. I'm starting to run out. My voice was beginning to give out, and I was running out of things to say. But I made it through. All right, have a good time with the Watchdogs. I'll be down in an hour for a short period of time. I'll probably see you then. And as always, thank you for your help this morning. All right, talk to you later. Bye.
The election was stolen from former President Trump. In the Middle East, the worst violence since the 2014 war, rockets launching from Gaza into Israeli territory, hundreds over the last couple of days. The Gaza Health Ministry says 43 people have been killed there. Consumer prices surging across the U.S. last month. The Labor Department says they jumped 0.8%. That is pushing inflation over the past year to the fastest rate in a decade.